forget the microphone. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to Raceface.Pro, and welcome to Lamar Ultimate Championship here at the beautiful Sebring circuit. First time these drivers are going to be taking on this treacherous, bumpy circuit. That being said, we got a lap in with our resident Stig, Cameron DeBastos, my co-commentator, missing in action tonight. Let's go and take a look at what he felt driving around the track with a bit of a track walk. Welcome to the most iconic circuit in motorsport history. The brutal, bumpy and beautiful beast that is Sebring for round 4 of the Raceface.Pro LMU Championship. Let's take a walk around this legendary 6-kilometer circuit known for its rough surface, airfield routes and relentless demand on drivers and machines alike. Turn 1, the fast left, right out the gate. Sebring throws you into the fire with turn 1. A wide, flat-out left-hander over massive concrete slabs. You're dancing on grip, flirting with the edge of control. There's no room for hesitation here. Full commitment or you're heading for the grass. Turn 3 and 4, the hairy hairpin complex. Brake late, but carefully into turn 3. It's deceptively tight. Then you get into the hairpin at turn 7. This is a prime overtaking zone, but it's also easy to lock up or over-rotate. Use the runoff if you must, but don't lose the momentum because turn 10, Cunningham Corner. This is a blind, fast and treacherous. Trail braking and throttle balance are everything. Nail it and you gain time. Miss it and you're wrestling with the car back in line while losing tenths. Turn 13, tower turn, off camber and unforgiving. Slower than it looks, and the exit matters more than you think. You'll want to be tight, clean and ready for the final sectors. The back straight, it's hammer time. Down the long Ullman straight, the bumps start talking again. GT cars feel like they're on a trampoline, and motorheads are shaking their teeth loose. Draft is powerful here, perfect spot to line up for the late race pass. Turn 17, Sunset Bend, and now the grand finale. One of the most feared corners in all of sim racing and real-world motorsport. Sunset Bend is fast, bumpy and wide open, but the wrong line will send you straight into the barriers or spinning like a top. Get your braking just right, use the bumps and hold your nerve to carry the speed through to the front stretch. Back onto the start-finish line, one lap of Sebring done and dusted, a true test of car control, mental focus and pure driving skill. This place doesn't forgive mistakes, but it rewards bravery, rhythm and respect. Whether you're in a GT3 or a hypercar, one thing's for sure, surviving Sebring is a badge of honor, so get ready because this track fights back and that only the strongest rise to the top here. With our track walk concluded, the championship at round 4, let's go through a couple of our standings, starting off with our hypercar class. Jan Kleinans leads out the back with 81 points. Dierveld Nel with 57 points runs in second. Chris Stills, after a little bit of a nightmare run from last race, is only sitting on 49 points. Jeffrey LaRue moves up to 45. Lionel Clue sitting on 36 points. Jody Seidman with 23 points. Mark Jens van Rensburgen, 21 points. Arno Kraus, 13 points. Jean Verveers is only 1 point behind him to claim that 8th place. He's currently sitting in 9th with 12 points. Jose Manuel running in 10th place with 10 points. How's that for iconic? Looking over to our GT3s, Brandon Kruger sits on 77 points with Bernard Barkhuizen on 57 points. And Mark Roth, rounding out our GT3 top 3, sits on 42 points. Johan Blicknout sits with 32 points, 10 points of the clutch for the bronze. Jason Farmer, however, 2 points back from him. We'll look to try and chase him down. He's sitting on 30 points. Julian Brands sitting with 29 points. Daniel De Villiers sits on 25 points. Eden Russell, 15 points. And Jeremiah Vetham sitting with 13 points. And 1 point off the 9th spot is Dennis Gillett. Let's go down to the track to see the drivers getting ready for their qualifying here at the stunning Sebring circuit for round 4 of the Raceface.Pro LMU Championship. And we can already see cars making their way out. Pit lane's a little bit tricky to get out, but it's going to be a wild, wild ride for every single one of these drivers looking to take the win here tonight. Taking a look over to our virtual grandstands, we got Hansi Myberg, the chief and main man of ACC, going and keeping an eye out on possibly a new way to go GT3 racing. Don't quite think so. I think Hansi is going to carry on enjoying his time in the BMW. Stingers Racing going and setting in some support as well. Welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Stephen Koenig. Welcome to the Raceface.Pro and welcome to the one, the only, well, I gotta say, the stunning in terms of championships here. It is the LMU, brand spanking new to the entire series. Glad to have you guys here. It's going to be a wild, wild run, and that is just saying just a little bit. It's going to be a wild one. It's going to be an exciting one. It's going to be all or nothing for these drivers to make their way towards the sharp end of the field. It's going to be a tough time for many to push the barriers, and Sebring, being a very unforgiving circuit, has made drivers having to work out setups a little bit more, trying to find that step up into the races, trying to see who will range their way to the top, who is going to be the ultimate go-getter to make their way into first place. Now, that being said, everyone's still trying to do their outlap at current, many of the drivers trying everything they can to pick up the pace and find where it's all going to work out for them. And we've got Mark van Rensburg currently on screen in the Toyota. Unfortunately, Toyota's having a bit of a rough time at Le Mans. This time, however, Mark van Rensburg looking to change the pace. The Peugeot of Chris Stalls leads out the pack with a 1:45.7 on his outlap. Johan Kleinans running in second place. Jean Verveers will sit in third, trying to make his way around the circuit. Henko van der Berg, a new name to the grid, looks to join in with the Ferrari 499, and so far lying in fourth place, doing a stellar job on the way through. So trying to get that little bit more of a climb. It's going to be a difficult one, and drivers are hoping that they can make a bigger impact here at the beautiful Sebring. It's going to be just a bit of a tough one for those harder suspension cars. Like the Ferraris, they naturally a bit stiffer sprung and will bounce around quite a bit. Jeffrey LaRue runs in fifth place. Mark van Rensburg runs in seventh. But first of our GT3s, to no surprise, is Bernard Barkhuizen getting a bit of a tank slapper on his way out. He's hoping to hold this top spot for the GT3s. He's running a 2:03.2 on his last lap. Theo Gavansami has picked up the run and runs in 12th place, second of our GT3s. Dion Cup running in third in the Ferrari 296. Jason Farmer runs in fourth of the GT3s, 14th overall in the United All the Sports colors. Jason Farmer running the Griffin Sim Racing team. He's getting chased down by fellow teammate Ulrich Dialga. Danny Steenkamp coming in for the race. Good to see him having a bit of fun out here. New name to the grid as well. Rob van der Heever down in 8th of our GT3s. Dennis Gillett, followed by Brandon Kruger, who was unable to race in the last one. Lost out a few points. Back to try and take the win. He's got a bit of a rivalry going on with Bernard Barkhuizen. Hopefully he can make it all the way to the top in qualifying to try and defend. Otherwise, it's going to be a tough time for him to try and reclaim the championship. Sean Loureiro, however, gets it very unstable. Beautiful pirouette. I would give that about 6 out of 10 over there. No, I'll go an 8. That was really well done. Mac Roth in the McLaren, Johan Blicknout, followed by Darren Miller. Thriller Miller himself from PWSR, running down in 25th. Lionel Clue still to put a time on the board. Quickest lap time, however, Chris Stolz in Sector 1 in the on his last outing was all fine. Sector 2, Tietar going to work into the long right-hander. This is always tricky. Gets a bit bumpy, gets a bit light. You got to put the power down all the way through, trusting the grip of the car. Heading into the right-hander, late on the brakes, hit the apex. Oh, bouncing on the curb, got very unstable there. Didn't get it off track, though, to go and take out his qualifying time. Carrying a lot of momentum through, and beautifully done from Crystals to just try and hold on for dear life. Left, right, and now into long right-hander onto the Ullman straight. This is going to be a bit of a wild one. You're trying to catch the car very, very unsteady on the exit. Just couldn't quite get the grip that he wanted. Also, a new name to the grid, and a big welcome goes to Brandon Gristle in the Porsche Penske Motorsports, lying in 8th place at the moment, trying to make his way up through the order. Still so many to try and put in that banger of a lap time. 9 minutes left to qualify, and all to play for as drivers trying to get every bit of grip possible. Jean Fafiers, however, lying in 2nd place to the 146.3, and is trying everything he can to make it work. It's going to be late on the anchors. Needs to find quite a bit of time here to get that 145-1, and unfortunately couldn't quite get it done. Having to stop the car. He's going to try, get back to pits, put a new fresh set of boots on, and get back out, trying yet again. We got Johan Kleinans running in 3rd in the Ferrari 499, charging his way through, dropping a wheel on the dirt, however, making a little bit uncomfortable. Does bring it back into the left-hander, trying to really claw his way back into the race, no, into the qualifying, around the long right-hander, into the quick left. This is where you got to keep the power down. The Hypercars will have a great advantage in through the tight parts of the chicanes. GT3s, however, do have a little bit of an understeer, and both classes are going to be battling to try and hold their line. No one wants to go off the ideal racing line, especially here at Sebring. The bumps will send you flying as they charge their way through. Everyone hunting, trying everything they can to get it to work in their favor. Kleinans, however, is on a rocket ship mission at the moment. Up in the 2 sectors, coming up for his 3rd. Can he carry the momentum? A 146.3 was done by Jean Fafiers. Kleinans in 3rd. Looks to try beat him out. That 145.1 is going to be a huge chase. In through the long right-hander. Back onto the power. Charging down to the start-finish line. Johan Kleinans will set a time on the board. Here's the last lap. Going and putting him in to 2nd place. 3rd sector was down, but not by much. However, still needing to just find that little bit more power out of the Ferrari. Jeff LaRue out on the circuit trying to make his way around. Brandon Kruger lying in 2nd place. A big jump up for him, but not quite the 2-minute 2.2 that was set by Bernard Barkhuizen. He did a 2-minute 2.215 instead of a 2-minute 2.201. I mean, this is incredibly close to one another, especially for the GT3s. Honestly, it is a wild, wild look, and they've got to be rather impressed with how they managed to get it done and dusted. Still, however, there is lots and lots of time on the board for the drivers to get those absolute bangers here at Sebring, a track that is well known for the Sebring 12 hour that's been going on for years and years and years, going and pinning some of the best machinery from your prototypes all the way to your GT saloons. Whether you're going and having a bit of fun in the GT3s or you're trying to tough it out in the hypercars, the circuit is going to be a bit of a challenging one. Light fuel tanks, however, also make the track incredibly bouncy. So even though in qualifying you do want to add a touch more fuel in the car just to try and help stabilize it, which is the other way around to what you want to do in qualifying. You want to run light, you want to run quick. But here at Sebring, due to the nature of the circuit, a little bit more fuel helps steady the car. Bernard Barkhuizen holding that 1st place. Unfortunately, down in the 1st sector, could not pick up the pace to work out in his favor. A big jump, however. Matt Roth up into 2nd. Darren Miller into 4th. Ulrich de Jager will try and battle his way through. He's currently holding 5th in the class, 16th overall. And now down the order, as there is a bit of a change. Darren Miller has to keep an eye out as Jan Blichnoot came across the line with a 145.1 on his last lap. Sorry, that's 2-minute 4.2. Oh, and that is a BMW successfully written off. And that shows the circuit, unfortunately, very, very unforgiving. The 2 minutes coming into play, but it's going to be a wild drive to the end. With 4 minutes and 50 seconds to go, looking at our hypercar class, it is still Crystals leading out the pack. Kleinans in second for Fears, followed by Clue, Van Rensburg, Nell, Vandenberg, LaRue, Crystal, Seidman, and Kraus round out the pack in 11th. And all trying to chase down that 145.1 set by the Peugeot. And Crystals just can't get it right around the final corner. A little bit wide, gets a bit twitchy, trying to bring the car back. Unfortunately, compromising his line. And wow, oh wow, 145.136 when he came across the line. So he managed to improve in 2 sectors, lost out in the third, and definitely lost a bit of time going into the first bend. Now, second corner. That being said, let's take a look at our GT3s at the moment. Bernard Barkhuizen leads out the pack with a 2-minute 2.201. I got to reiterate that because this man over here, Brandon Kruger, coming around the final corner, looking to try and usurp, puts the hammer down. Is it going to be enough when he comes across the line? It will be a 2-minute 2.201 to beat, and unfortunately, he managed to do a 2-minute 2.215. So really close. He tried and was right on the money. Unfortunately, just couldn't get it across purely on the fact of going and putting a wheel off. He's literally a 13th, a 10th off Bernard Barkhuizen as it stands. Mac Roth in the McLaren, trying to put the hammer down as well. Sector 1, Sector 2 has been reasonably quick. They're trying to beat that 2-minute 2, and it's still going to be a lot to go for. Mac Roth in a 2-minute 3 at the moment. He needs to try and wipe out a good second to be able to get in close range of our top 2 with that McLaren. And ultimately, it's going to be a tough one, especially here at Sebring, where it is solo qualifying at the moment, which means you have the track to yourself for now. But in 2 minutes and 40 seconds, that's going to all change. We will get back, we will race under mixed grid conditions. We'll have the hypercars going off. They'll eventually catch up to the GT3 cars, expecting roughly about lap 4 for the cars to get right into the back of one another and start fighting their way through. So always a tough time for many of the drivers to figure out their next step here at the beautiful track of Sebring for round 4 of the championship. And so many points still on the line, so little time in the championship left to make that impact, because we can only crown one Season 1 champion for both Hypercar and GT3, and every single one of the drivers want to ensure that they are doing that. They will be the ones to cross the line at the top. 26 cars will be starting out, and at the moment, 26 cars still trying to put in their best lap times, really hoping to put the bangers in and ensure they can be at the top of the board, wanting to get through. For the hypercars, it's crucial to be at the front. Otherwise, you will have lots of aero wash pushing you around, throwing you through the corners, and unfortunately costing you a huge amount of time. And that is a monster impact to think about while you're driving, especially when you're trying to heat up the tires under very cold conditions. They don't have tire blankets on these cars, which means you've got to be rather careful. And that also goes for our GT3s, experiencing the same thing. You want to be up in front. You want to be able to challenge into the start of the race where you can defend, especially around this circuit. It's easier to hold your line and be able to defend versus trying to go on the offensive. You will only have about 3 corners to make it work, and this long back straight will help out for it. Anywhere else, it's a little bit of follow the leader, and you've got to be so careful. Fun fact, to the left-hand side of this back straight is actually a swamp, and you can still see it to this very day. There was a case last year during it was during the Sebring 12 hour, where a hypercar was damaged when a frog jumped across the circuit. Fun fact, Kermit unfortunately didn't make it. The car that got smacked didn't quite enjoy it either. So, fun fact about that one, the swamp does play into effect here, and many of the drivers are hoping to keep it all together on the concrete/road surface. Now, that also changes how your setup is done. Because when you get onto the concrete portions of the circuit, you slide around a lot. You haven't got as much traction. As you start getting onto the tar, you start to get feeling a bite in the steering. You're starting to get the tires up and working, and that will carry through. So you've got this mixed condition. You've got to be so careful and balance between aero and mechanical grip to try and assist one another around this very, very tough circuit. That can wear you out. Oh, Bluchnote into the wall as he came across the line. He's in 4th place. But man, going and rearranging the nose of the BMW yet again here at Sebring. And the driver, I'm sure, getting a little bit restless, trying to figure out what on earth is going on. Why does it keep snapping? Why does it keep challenging? At the moment, Dion Cup trying to make his way through. The Ferrari 296 driver just not able to get the power down. And one of the very few Ferraris we actually have racing with us tonight. And it's actually fantastic to see the 296 making an outcome. I'm still waiting, however, for the beautiful Merc to come into play. Jason Farmer deciding he's not going to get the lap in and goes into pit lane, and we'll wait it out. So, drivers completed. No more time left on the board. Devatnel will slow it down. Jean Verfiers will look to try and bring it across the line, hoping to be a little bit quicker this time around. On the back straight, final corner, a quick dab of the brakes, down the gears you go into 3rd, carrying a lot of momentum in these hypercars. Don't get too close to the inside. There's a big bump on the inside that will upset you. Carries it away from the curb and across the line. Unfortunately, unable to improve on that last lap. So drivers will be getting ready to rock and roll here at the beautiful Sebring. And sights and sounds are going wild, but you would notice something very crucial. And I know you guys out there on the virtual grandstands, and Tony Gamble, Hansi Myberg, Stingers, and many, many more joining us here. A massive welcome to you all. Fantastic to have you. But, as said, we got to talk about the elephant in the room. The sun is starting to set, and that will change how this race is going to go. That is going to define where we sit in the race. So, tough time, lots to think about, lots to do. How are we going to move forward? And drivers will have to keep a very keen eye on the racing at hand. That being said, let's take a look over to our starting order for tonight's race. So let's try and do that again. There we go. It's going to be Crystals leading out the pack with Jan Kleinans in row 2. On second place, then Jean Verfiers, Diervald Nel, followed by Mark van Rensburg, Jeffrey Leroux, Hinko van der Berg, Jody Seidman, Brandon Grissel, along with Arno Kraus. Bernard Barkhuizen will run in 11th with Brandon Kruger, Mac Roth in 3rd place of our GT3s. Johan Bluchnote runs in 14th, Dion Cup in for that 15th, 16th is followed by Darren Miller, Ulrich Diaga, Jason Farmer, Julian Brains, Theo Gavansami, Dennis Gillett, Sean Loureiro, likes of Johan Rasmus, Rob van der Heever, and Danny Steenkamp rounds out our 25 car field, as it does look like we have lost a couple of drivers off the start. So 26 qualified, 25 will be starting here at the beautiful Sebring. 40 minutes of action. And it is going to be a tough one for the drivers to compete in. We're expecting to go into the night. Headlights are starting to come ablaze. And this track is not known for having great spotlights. This track is known for getting extremely dark, extremely quickly. And you're going to have your head on your shoulders as you look towards the race. So, Danny Steenkamp running in 25th. We'll have the benefit of seeing all the cars getting ready and launching off the line. But we are getting ready to go racing here at Sebring. And it's Chris Stalls leading out the pack. Will take the hypercars first across the line. Johan Kleinans looks to try and clinch it, but he's got the hard work around the outside in turn 1. And it is gonna be a monstrous, monstrous battle. Jean Verfiers runs in 3rd. Devil Knowles looking for a bit of company around him as well as they line themselves up Gently powering through. They will be told by race control to just get ready. And it is going to be a monster drive. 40 minutes of action. It is going to be all or nothing for the drivers to make it work at the beautiful Sebring. Kleinunts in second will try to put the hammer down as quick as he can, but Crystals leads out the pack for round 4. The Raceface.Pro Le Mans Ultimate here at Sebring for the first time of Le Mans Ultimate. It is going to be Crystals and Johan Kleinunts battling to try and go around. Loses out to Jean Verfiers, who dives up on the inside. The Toyota getting a bit squirrely as the GTs now march their way through. Bernard Barkhuizen leads the pack, but it is Arno Fraus who is fishing to try and get himself back into the fray, and immediately has the GT3 pack on the back of him. This is now a huge problem as the GT3s are now into the GTPs. Jeff LaRue down the order as he's now swallowed in through the back of the field. Will have to try and pull his way back in the Ferrari, and this is going to affect how the drivers are going to get into their braking markers. LaRue up, now late braking, nearly into the back of Blucknote, who lost out a little bit of time there. Try to bring it back, and Kruger immediately starts to try and also keep himself together as LaRue cuts his way back through the field. Mac Roth will be going and keeping an eye on his mirrors as he sees the likes of Darren Miller moved out of the way. Now he is going to be next. Bernard Barkhuizen, however, starts to open up the gap to try and lead out for our GT3s. LaRue up on the inside, puts the hammer down, and a huge amount of power comes through. Mac Roth will let by. Like I said, LaRue didn't have much of an opportunity, but Bernard Barkhuizen here looking for a crucial run on towards the back straight. Does not want to be felled up through the S's. Hard on the brakes, bring it back. Now flat out you go. Breaking the slipstream, that's going to help him out. But now it is a chase behind. It's a BMW fight for our GTs. Darren Miller, Brandon Kruger, Jan Blucknote going at one another, trying to figure out where they can go. Julian Brains, along with Ulrich de Jager, looks to try and fight their way through, but the slipstream effect becoming a very strong contender for many of these drivers to try and bring it back. Crystals leads out the pack with Jean Verfiers running in second place. Johan Kleinunts will run in third, followed by Dervold Nell, a little bit back from the field where he wanted to be, and he wants to try and get there a bit closer. Jody Seidman in fifth place will have the likes of Henko Thunderberg having a go at him. The Toyota is incredibly strong through the corners, but the Ferraris definitely have a serious amount of top end. Looks for the inside, couldn't quite get it done. Has to filter right back in through the second gear corner, and immediately getting greeted by Mark van Rensburg, trying to close up on the pack. And Mark van Rensburg in that Toyota looks to try and put his nose in for a great charge up through the order. Going back to a great fight, Matt Roth keeping ahead, but Darren Miller having to take the inside, being very defensive as Kruger trying to hunt him down, looking to try and get the pass done and does it. Kruger looking for crucial points in this championship after missing out the last round. Now needs to try and bring it back. Mac hoping that he keeps it all together. Middle of the circuit. Miller inside. Kruger puts his nose in. It's contact between the two. Rubbing is Racing, PWSR and Omnius Gaming having a bit of a fight out there. BMW on BMW violence, and Blucknote looking to try and capitalize. Looks for the inside. Kruger going and ramping it over the curbs, just trying everything he can to find that little bit of grip underneath him. Miller defensive, keeps it all together. Kruger looked for the inside, couldn't get the pass down into the right-hander, into the left. Kruger no way to get round, but he's gonna have the advantage. Down the slipstream they go as they charge their way through down the back straight. It is going to be Miller pulling the entire train along. Kruger in the slipstream. Blucknote joining in, does slightly break out of the slipstream, however, just to see where the braking markers are, and diving into the final corner. Kruger getting very unsteady under braking, couldn't quite bring it back. Blucknote looked to try and get an advantage, but had to stand on the anchors. Darren Miller now getting swallowed up, will continue his charge through. A little bit further down, Ulrich de Jager having Theo Gavansami having a go at him, and they got Brandon Grissel coming past. Brandon dives up on the inside into turn one, gets it done and dusted, comes round, and Ulrich Diaga will be saying thank you to that one, as Theo Gavasami tried to get the pass done, unfortunately couldn't carry the momentum, and we do have our first car that is retired. Jody Seidman, unfortunately out. Oh, big tank slapper for Theo Gavasami, trying everything he can to keep it all in order. Jason Farmer, however, a little bit further back, he's lying 11th in the GT3s, and now is Arno Kraus trying to slice his way through the traffic. Back up towards our top positions overall. Johan Verveers dealing with Jürgen Kleinans at the moment. Kleinans constantly putting the hammer down. Looks to keep himself in the toe. Looks for the inside. Couldn't quite get it done. Has to wait yet again. But Verveers looks like he's run out a little bit wide. Takes it very tight through the final corner. Couldn't quite get it going, but the sun is starting to set. And these lights will start to get quite bright for them to deal with. And this does change the entire complexity of the race. You can ask any driver who will be able to make an impact, and nighttime is very, very different, as we do see Mark van Rensburg cutting it so close to the wall on the exit and continues to hold Jeff LaRue at bay, but only just. LaRue looked for the inside, couldn't get the momentum, and Mark van Rensburg into the dirt again, trying to bring it all back, gets unsettled, and LaRue up on the inside, gets it done and dusted. LaRue moving up to 6th, Mark van Rensburg trying to battle back, does put his nose in, unfortunately not able to get it working just as yet. He continues his drive, looks around the outside, heading into the sharp hairpin, and it's going to be the Toyota having to be late on the brakes. They both on the brakes at the exact same time. Lockup coming from LaRue to get it done and dusted. Does run out a bit wide, cost himself a little bit of a drive, and Mark van Rensburg constantly hounds him, trying everything. That Toyota is looking to gain the 6th spot back. Oh, contact between the two, and that, unfortunately, is LaRue over the track, gone into the dirt. Mark van Rensburg does wait up, however, to let the likes of LaRue retain his position as a show of tip of the hat for the sim racing, the unwritten rule of sim racing. That being said, let's go back further as Bernard Barkhuizen in the GT3s catching up to Brendan Gritzel, who is just trying to make his way around. 32 minutes to go in this race, still plenty of action, and so far, drivers having to push the edge. Sean Lorero and Jason Farmer having a bit of a go at one another. Jason Farmer in that McLaren 720S Evo, looking to get ahead of the Mustang GT3, and it's going to be a hard charge. Farmer into the slipstream, pulling himself along, looks for the inside line, couldn't do it, went to the outside, back to the inside, and over the curb, getting very unstable, but he was able to pull it back. Sean Lorero having to wait and hold his position, constantly looking in the mirrors. Where is Jason Farmer going to attack? Where can I hold the line? The Mustang getting a little bit unstable, and Farmer constantly hounding him, wearing those tires out, constantly battling their way through, and this is only helping the likes of Jan Erasmus to make up some time. First of the pit stops coming in, as we do have Arno Kraus, who went in and out through the pits, but we have a non-finisher, Mac Roth, who was running at the top of our GT3s, is out of the race. Ulrich Diaga is out of the race for our GT3. So that is Mark van Rensburg, Jody Seidman, Mac Roth, and Ulrich Diaga are now officially out of tonight's race due to incidents and damage to the cars that just can't be repaired. Jason Farmer around the outside, not going to work out here. Does open the door, however, for Dennis Gillett to start making up some time. Dennis looking, and Farmer loses it. Going over the bumps, got unsteady, the rear kicked out, and that was unfortunately that. Losing out. Dennis Gillett going and taking a deep breath for sure to not go into the side of the Griffin Sim Racing car, and will be taking the sweat off his brow, but having to think back of what he needs to do to catch up to Sean Lorero up ahead. It is on the power all the way through, chasing a little bit of momentum around, but it's Sean Lorero running up in 15th, 8th in class, continues on his charge. Bernard Barkhuizen leads out our GT3s and will be hoping to carry this momentum through. It is going to be a hard charge, however, for him to try and maintain a long and prosperous run here around Sebring, but with the bumps in the circuit, the whole night starting to creep in, it is turning into a very, very difficult situation. 4 cars, however, are not going to see the checkered flag, but we still have 21 cars going. They are pushing themselves that little bit further, and last of the cars, but hasn't quite given up, is Arno Kraus of our hypercars in the Toyota, trying everything he can to bring himself onto the back end of Brendan Gristle, who will be running in 7th of our hypercars. So still so much momentum to go. Drivers having to think a little bit more of what they need to do. And the lights starting to get brighter and brighter. Everyone watching mirrors. Oh, that Sean Fierce through the dirt got uncomfortable. And Johan Kleinans will look to try and capitalize on it, as they're trying to get past the likes of Mr. Cap himself. Dion Cap was not able to keep an eye on the mirrors and landed up with a Ferrari going right over the dirt. But this is Julian Brains and Theo Gavansami, with Julian not able to get the run on the McLaren. He does go around the outside, carries as much momentum as possible, but it's Theo Gavansami who continues on the charge, hoping to bring himself a little bit closer. Behind them, Dennis Gillett and Sean Loureiro will be seeing this fighting duo, plus, while they are in their own fight, continue to fight it out to bring a bit closer into the race. Julian Burns, however, late on the anchors, sliding around, can't quite keep it all in check. Julian hoping that he can hold the likes of the Apex to bring himself a little bit closer to Theo and push him offline. Theo, however, continues to not let it phase him and will fight it out. But here comes Chris Stills, our leader of the hypercars, that may change the effect on into the braking zone. A little bit of a lockup. Does go, and side by side, Theo Gavansami holds his line, and Chris having to maneuver his way through. Julian, unfortunately, couldn't quite make up that time. Unfortunately, the hypercar getting in the way from those attacks, and good driving from all of them. Just as I said that, commentator's curse, late brakes into the rear, and now Jean Fafier's tries to come through. Johan Fafier's around. Jean Fafier's running in 2nd place. Let me try that one again as he makes his way around Theo Gavansami. He's cost him a bit of time, however. Quick flash of the lights coming from Johan Kleinans, who goes around the outside inside of Theo Gavansami. Very, very brave over the curbs, bottoming out, and continues to try and keep it all together. That has cost him some time, and Theo Gavansami, the closest fight, however, on circuit, goes to Dennis Gillett and Sean Loureiro, constantly hounding each other, figuring out what is going to be the next strategy in our GT3s. Loureiro holding on to the back of the McLaren, but just not within arm's reach as yet. But he will be looking to push himself through the race that little bit closer, that little bit more into a fight. And sure, they stay in for the top running order. So it is still Chris Stills that leads out the pack, now navigating the likes of Bernard Barkhuizen, and will continue his drive through the order. Does not want to lose out time. Bernard Barkhuizen, Brandon Kruger running in 2nd place. Johan Blichnote running in 3rd, who was overtaken. Wasn't Barkhuizen, was Blichnote that got overtaken. And now Blichnote keeps an eye as Brandon Kruger will, fortunately enough, have Chris Stills pass him on the straight line. Bernard Barkhuizen, however, is not going to be as lucky. He's going to have cars into the rear, starting to go and push him off the apexes, starting to get into that fight, and will be costing him a bit of time. And so far, lap time's working out in his favor. His best lap time thus far is a 2:03.2, and continues to try and open that up. He's 5 seconds ahead of Brandon Kruger. Doesn't want to get felled up by the hypercars, and both classes being very aware of one another. As Chris Stills gets his pass, Bernard Barkhuizen was into the dirt, but does able to bring it back. Fighting yet again goes for Loureiro, as he now has Julian Brains onto the back of him. Loureiro slowly slipping down the order and costing himself a little bit of time here. Will be thinking the long-term game. What is going to be their advantage as they fight it out so far for 8th and 7th place. Julian running in 8th. Constantly hounds through. The BMW works rather well, and late brake, late dive gets it done. And well done to Loureiro, opening the steering. Doesn't want to get caught out. Julian getting in all types of wrong into the corner. Was able to save it. Loureiro, however, if he turned in, it would have been a completely different story. Loureiro keeping that Mustang in the race and out of damage. Now looks to chase down Julian onto the back straight, charging their way through. Lights starting to shine on the circuit, and we will have dark patches. Those apexes start to fade away underneath you, and you're having to keep a well enough eye on it. This is into the final corner, however. You're going to have to really get yourself going. Don't turn in way too early, otherwise you will be tossed out and going rather wide in a difficult situation. Julian, however, will keep it all together and stands on the gas, holding that 7th place here for round 4 of the Raceface.Pro Le Mans Ultimate Championship. And if you just joined us, welcome, welcome, welcome. Still so much to go. Plenty of racing. Unfortunately, 4 cars are out of the race. Ulrich Diaga, Mac Roth, Mark van Rensburg, and Jody Seidman for mechanical damages. They are out of tonight's race. Many others that weren't able to make it to the grid will be going and shaking their heads of losing out, seeing their mates go and drive around the track. But at the same time, will have a small grin, knowing that they can score a few points and have a fight for a position in the championship. So our LMGT3 is doing a great job out there. Our Hypercars going and having the likes of Crystal's leading out. He's absolutely walked away at the moment. 9.1 seconds ahead of Johan Verveers. Jean Verveers running in 2nd place. Diervald Nel in 3rd. Jan Kleinans bit further back at the moment. He's like 10 seconds back from 3rd. Henko van den Berg, however, is making up a bit of ground. He's 3.7 seconds back in that Ferrari 499 Hypercar and will hope to make it work. Jeff LaRue running in 6th and 7th place. Brennan Gressel still keeps up the momentum in the Penske Porsche and currently ahead of Arno Kraus, who's still trying to make up time. He's 21 overall. He has to overtake most of the GT3 field. Now that is a nightmare affair, and he is looking to try and put the hammer down. He's 1 lap down on most of the GT3 field, and this is going to hurt him, but it also, the zero quit of the drivers to carry on the momentum to ensure they stay in for the fight, and knowing that he needs to try and get towards the sharp end. Every point counts in this championship, and you got to be in it to win it. 22 minutes left of the race, however, and all starting to settle down for now as drivers start to find their groove, start to get that rhythm, and start to figure out what is going to be the strategies here. Who's going to be able to move forward, if anything? Who is going to have the advantage going into the long stint, into the cooler circuit here at Sebring? Now it gets quite cold quite quickly around the circuit, and they've got to keep that well enough in the back of their head. They will be consulting the teams, they will be consulting the managers, saying, listen, what's the game plan here? What do I need to do to push further up? When do I need to really get those laps in, or must I maintain? How long are we going to carry these tires in for? Do we need to do a quick switch of the tires? Do we need to carry on charging their way through? This is always factors that come in. Even though it's a 40-minute race, there is lots and lots of strategy behind the scenes to make it work, to push them that little bit further, to think, all right, strategy, big game here, big brain. Let's try and figure out, how am I going to move up through the order, especially when you start having leaders breaking away. And we can see Dion Cup going and out-braking himself, went out very, very wide, and that cost him time immediately to the likes of Darren Miller. Thriller Miller himself looking to try and gain some time, and will be hoping that he can lay into the gap between them. Now, Dion Cup, coming from the world of ACC, jumps into LMU, the Ferrari 296, reasonably new to the entire sim here on LMU, and really going and putting the hammer down. One of the few, as we do see Thriller Miller giving us a bit of a thrill. Tank Slapper on the way through, and that is traction control saying thank you, I will save you, and the skills of the driver as well to hold on. But now it comes to the Ferrari up on the inside, the 499, and that looks to be possibly LaRue going and looking to try and make his way past. Looks around the outside, doesn't quite feel as confident to get it done and dusted. Waits it out a little bit more, going to wait for the straight. Plenty of power underneath him to blast past the likes of Miller, but is he going to have enough to catch up to Dion Cup just ahead of him. Goes around Miller, now aims towards Cap, and that was beautifully done. Waving to fellow Ferrari driver, says thank you very much on that run. Gavasami into the pit lane, and now getting some work done to the car. So Theo Gavasami into the pits, up on the jacks, does get himself into position, just parked slightly out of the pit box. Is this going to be a tough time, as this allows Dennis Steenkamp to gain a position and march his way back up through the order? And so far, Theo hoping for a little bit of a later time. That being said, folks, it is getting wild. It is getting crazy out there. And since we've hit the middle of the race, let's go through our field, because Bernard Barkhuizen leads out our GT3s. Brandon Kruger in second. Blick Notes in third. Dean Cup, followed by Darren Miller, Dennis Gillett, Julian Brains, Sean Herrera, Jan Rasmus, and Jason Farmer rounds out our top 10 of our LM GT3s. Moving on to our hypercars. And it is going to be the likes of Crystals, leads out the pack, Sean Verveers, David Nell, Jan Kleinens, Henko van der Berg, Jeffrey LaRue, Brandon Crystal, along with Arno Kraus, Mark van Rensburg, and Jody Seidman, unfortunately not able to get it to the line. So race still continuing, lots going on, plenty of time left on the board. Racers hoping to try and fight their way through, but this is going to be a change of position side by side, as we do see Dion Cup trying to defend against Miller. Miller around the outside, battling to bring it back, hoping that he can stand on the gas. Cap still holds the inside, runs out a bit wide, washes out a little bit. Miller, no fear on the eyes, dives in. Cap tried to block him off into the braking zone. Miller said not going to happen. The BMW keeping the shoulders very, very wide. Cap, unfortunately, learning that the Ferrari doesn't do well with the front engines mass in going and trying to make the pass done. So Cap down the order, now falls in tow, and Miller looks to try and put the impact on the way through. Time starting to drop off though. 18 minutes and 10 seconds is all or nothing for these drivers to score major points in the championship. Anyone has an advantage by winning tonight. As you saw, the top 10 incredibly close in points, and a win here tonight, even a second place, can change the entire tide of this race. Verveers 3 seconds off the back of Stills. Miller dealing with Cap right onto the back of him, continues on the charge. Cap now with a little bit of aero damage after that contact, will feel the nose getting lighter and lighter as the tank is also starting to become a problem. The car now a little bit unstable to deal with. You can see quite erratic into the corners, fighting the car constantly to try and bring it back. Miller, however, with the BMW, quite happy. He's gone and filled the car up, wasn't running as light by the looks of it, and set the car that he can go that little bit longer. But Cap, unfortunately, tires starting to wear off. He pushed hard at the start, and now as we get to the end stages of the race, this is where you start to feel the battle. This is where you feel that grip that you abused at the start to go and tell you, listen, I'm done. You're going to have to figure this one out. You're going to have to think about the bigger strategy. Dennis Gillett has got Julian Brains trying to catch up to him. Jan Erasmus, who's in 16th, will have Arno Kraus starting to make up time. Now, Kraus is in a hypercar, but no blue flags will be shown, and it's all about watching the mirrors in the relative, and Kraus gets by on pure power out of that monstrous Toyota, and leaves the likes of Jan Erasmus in the GT3 alone, but does create a little bit of error wash into the final corner. It does make things rather tricky, but Kraus keeping it all together, and Rasmus also keeping suit. As we do see our hypercars now starting to come into effect around the outside for Devil now, just able to bring it back before touching the dirt. Got a bit unsettled, and definitely not how you want things to go as you try and bring it back in for the fight. So drivers are really starting to feel the bite. Let's take a look, however. Govin Sami has been the only car that's gone through pit lane in these 15 minutes and 48 seconds. The rest of the drivers have not gone through the pits. They opted, enough, I'm not going to bother with it. I'm going to focus on what I need to do. Let's look at our positions and gains and losses at the moment. And we have got the likes of Crystals holding his position but it is Bernard Barkhuizen who has made the most climb, sitting 3 positions up from where he started, along with Brandon Kruger now matching. Blichnote actually beats them and comes up with 4 positions gained, and, well, that's been a sharp one. Dennis Gillett, I do apologize, actually is the one that's done the most. He's 8 positions up from where he started. So Dennis Gillett going and making an impact here. Well, you can turn it down, however, because Arno Kraus starting to gain a little bit of time as Devold Nell will be making his way through. That was the likes of Johan Kleinans that got unstable. The 83-499 Ferrari battling their way around. And these hypercars starting to feel the strain of going a little bit longer. And they will be taking a look at how much energy reserves they have. Still sitting on 29, the likes of Nell on 26. It's getting lower and lower. Now they have to try and maintain the charge. The only way that you're able to continue the charge is hard braking. All the energy generated from the brakes gets shoved into the batteries. Allows you to get more drive out of it. But that means you have to also be more conservative on your momentum. Oh, into the dirt for Kleinans as he does bring it back onto the circuit, but unsteady, lying in 4th place and now losing out a bit of time. That being said, we talked about losing time and how the energy is starting to play into effect. Take a look at Johan Verveers. He's really starting to put the hammer down. He's really starting to get in for the fight. He wants to catch up to Stalls, and he's managed to knock out 2 seconds behind the likes of Stalls. So he is now hoping. He was running away. Now time's starting to come in, and traffic for the likes of Stalls, trying everything he can. Goes around the outside, puts the hammer down, but that compromised him quite a lot. But Stalls actually still wasn't quite able to pull away, however. But that has also kept an eye for Deerveld now. He will be catching up to our GT3s around the outside, not getting quite as settled. Does bring it back, however, into the long straight. He's going to go and utilize everything that Ferrari has to catch up to Verveers ahead of him. As drivers march their way up through the order, Darren Miller along with Cap, hoping they can keep up their fight, running 4th and 5th. Bernard Barkhuizen leads out our GT3s, Brandon Kruger and Johan Blichnote running in 3rd. For our hypercars, Chris Stalls, Johan Verveers, and the likes of Deerveld Nell running in 3rd of our hypercars in 3rd overall, as we do have the 2 Ferraris meeting each other on the exit of the final corner here at Sebring. Life got a little bit interesting for both cars, having to just slightly lift off the throttle to stay in the mix, however, and tough times still ahead as they march their way on here at Sebring. 12 minutes and 20 seconds, starting to feel like it is years and years away to get to the checkered flag. Chris Stalls starting to see his lead was fading. A quick flash of lights just to inform the GT3s, listen, I'm coming by. They have been told not to go ballistic with the lights, as it is a distraction for both drivers. When you flash those lights, you lose a bit of sight. You lose your lights to be able to see bright off, and unfortunately makes life a little bit more difficult. But you can see Stoltz has actually hurt those tires, slides the car on the way through, and is definitely not looking as settled as he would like. That is all going to play into the hands of Verveers, who also is putting the hammer down, starting to feel the back end of the tires, but is making up some ground. At least the traffic, unfortunately, cost him quite severely. Dion Cup going and keeping an eye on the mirror. He's got a little bit of aero damage on the front nose. Remember the contact with Mustang. Honor Kraus will be coming past him. No blue flags, however. Kraus will gain an overall position. Still down on the order, but Dion Cup goes and moves out of the way, knowing that that's not going to be an easy fight to go for. Well, likes of Dylan and Darren Miller, or Thriller Miller himself, going out wide, brings it back, stands on the gas, and Arno Kraus nearly into the rear of Miller as he just went and got on the power. Didn't quite expect how quickly they were going to catch one another as they charge their way through. Sean Loureiro and Johan Rasmus going and fighting one another. Johan, one of our Ferraris out on track, continues to give Loureiro a bit of a tough time out here. Lara out there in the Mustang has been dropping down the order. Wasn't quite settled in the beginning stage of the race. It looks like he has become a little bit more settled towards the end. But running 2:07s was his best lap time. That is way off the pace where he needs to be. Jason Farmer runs at 2:06. Rob van der Heever is along with Rob van der Heever and Danny Steenkamp, they are running 2:08. So that is how close Lara is to the back end of the field in their fastest lap times. But Lara keeping up a solid defense, not quite using all the circuit coming out of the final corner, and Rasmus playing it the same as 10 minutes to go here at Sebring for round 4 of the Raceface.Pro LMU Championship. Our GTs going and doing everything they can to move their way up through the order. This is where you're hanging on. This is where you're thinking, what's going to be the opportune moment? If you haven't pulled the trigger now, what's going to happen? The Fears is 5 seconds back after catching up to Stalls quite a bit. He got right into the mix and just seems like fuel, battery, and tires just not playing into his effect here. As we take a look, Fears does have 5% more than Stalls, but just not able to utilize it as much, having to utilize all the battery power to carve through the traffic. Now, however, is starting to run into an issue on 17%, now into 16%. Now, these batteries kick in when you use over 20% of the throttle. So as soon as you start feeding that gas, the battery kicks in and starts pulling along. You can, however, switch the modes to a build to try and allow a little bit more momentum, to try and help it bring it back and get yourself a bit more of a charge. You can also switch it to more of an attack function, which allows all the power to come out quicker and plenty. Now, as we did see a bit of a lockup, I'm trying to see who exactly that was that got it all out of shape. It wasn't Crystals, was it for Fears? Theobald Nell trying to carve his way through. Don't see any cars that may have landed up in dirt, but definitely a scary moment, however, came in for the likes of our GT3s. And suddenly had a hypercar locking up in front of them. All these drivers having to think, what's the next game? What are they going to do? As we go back to Lara and Erasmus battle, they are incredibly close to one another and continue on the charge, trying to figure out what they need to do to hold the positions or gain, where the likes of Julian has opened up a monstrous gap to the likes of Sean Lara. Over 6 seconds at this point. As the Mustang down the gears, trying to bring it all to a halt in towards the dirt, over the curb, gets it unsettled, but maintains his charge. Brandon Kruger, seeing Otto Kraus, gets on by. Brandon Kruger holding second place, does not want to go too much off his racing line. He knows keeping it consistent all the way through is going to help out here, and now will be trying to make his way up through the order. Bernard Barkhuizen, who is the current leader of the GT3 field, is running a bit ahead. He will, however, see that Toyota starting to climb up, starting to get in the mirrors, and Kraus will be the next one to see Bernard Barkhuizen on the main straight, following through Sunset, and now it is just charging through. You can see the difference in the hypercar. Power to weight ratio comes on by, despite being a 3-liter V6. Those cars are still incredibly potent, and our GT3s a straight 6 in those BMWs. The Rero and Erasmus continue on their charge. Apologies to the stream. Lorera and Erasmus fighting each other out, still continue on. Bugs starting to build up on the windscreens, making things a little bit more difficult to see. Our leader will catch both on the straight. Erasmus hoping to stay in the slipstream as long as possible. Lorera, however, not going to be caught out, will continue on his drive. He's going to be quite happy to just keep it all together. They are running quite close to one another as they battle their way through. Definitely A-OK, but the frog I spoke about here at Sebring that got met by GT3, I think I went and found its its brethren. Do apologize. Sean Loureiro, however, has got Jan Erasmus. Another fight starting to come through is Gavin Sami and Rob van der Heever was trying to gain a bit of time. Rob van der Heever actually now going rather slow, not keeping as settled as he would like, and losing time to Gavin Sami. So out on circuit, but just not finding the pace he would like to get a bit closer. Back to our fight, however, running for 8th and 9th, our closest fight on circuit. Loureiro and Erasmus will constantly charge on. They will push themselves that little bit further. Late on the brakes for Loureiro to just try and hold the position. Immediately, Erasmus onto the back of him. Will try and go around the outside. Switch to the inside. No room on that apex. Will have everything he needs to do to try and keep in the tow. Darren Miller will open up the gap to the likes of Mr. Cap himself. And going and making his way up through the order. Loureiro and Erasmus will continue on the charge and see the hypercars coming into effect. This is going to be an opportune moment for Erasmus to try and allow the TO to get by, and Loureiro instantly goes to the outside. He's opened the door, however, and immediately off in towards the dirt. Lost out the drive. Erasmus tried to capitalize. He just wasn't far enough. A little bit of a light lift cost him time, as we do see Ferraris, however, diving into the dirt. And that, unfortunately, looks like one of our 83s, and that would be Devard Nell. He's ventured off a few times this race, but still is able to hold that third place, still keeping it together. Kleinans will be trying to make up some time to him, however, and looking to stay in for the fight all the way through till the very, very end. Sean Loureiro now will try and keep an eye out, as we do see the likes of Kleinans getting past them and a gap zone open between himself and Erasmus. Crystals leads out the pack of our hypercars, has done a phenomenal job thus far and looks to try and keep it going. For Fears, running in second place, has kept it consistent all race. Unfortunately, there is a second difference in their best lap times and their average lap times. For Fears is doing everything he can. Crystals has just had the benefit of luck with traffic. As you can see, for Fears getting caught out through the chicane behind one of the McLarens, cost him a couple of tenths, and he will be looking to try and gain some time here, as Devard Nell is dialing up the wick, starting to put the pressure on. 2 minutes and 40 seconds left. It's gonna be all or nothing. If you're in a hypercar, start using all the battery. Start using everything you have underfoot. For the GT3s, like Bernard Barkhuizen, it's consistency to keep him going. He has got a good gap to Kruger, about 4 seconds between them, as we do, however, get reports of a non-finisher, Jason Farmer, out of the race, and due to mechanical failure, Jason Farmer will not see the end of round 4 here at Sebring. Loureiro continues to open up to Erasmus. Time starting to break down. 1 minute and 57 seconds. Devard Nell keeps an eye on the mirrors, because right behind him, in a bit of a mirrored fashion, Johan Kleinans closed up the gap, is now in for the attack, and both are trying to give it everything they got. Kleinans only 1% more in his battery versus Nell. Looks to try and really put the hammer down, not to lose our time. We did see Nell, however, tapping the dirt ever so slightly in through turn 2. Tries to bring it back, but that's cost him severe time. He's holding on to this third place, but can he hold it on till the end? It is going to be a chase down for our third spot on the podium for hypercars. Everything seems to be game, set, and match in our GT3s, but that being said, fuel, how much have you got left? Have you put enough in the tank to get yourself to the end? Or did you skimp out a little bit, thinking that extra lap, you don't have to worry about it? That is going to play into effect. Maybe you went a little bit faster, used a bit more fuel, as Devard Nell now gets Kleinans onto the back of him. Kleinans hoping to stay in for the fight, really puts the hammer down and will be in for the chase here. Third place is right in front of him. Kleinhans will be on the monster attack. Nell runs out a bit wide. Kleinhans a bit tighter. Nose to tail, as you can hear the 499s fight their way through. Kleinhans doing everything he can, sliding it around. But it's Nell who tries to keep on the power in the slipstream. This is going to be incredibly strong. Nell trying everything he can to defend, and Kleinhans gets a position. Kleinhans up into third place. Nell is busy trying to keep the car going. He's run out of juice and he cannot take on for the fight. Chris Stalls will be looking to come across. He has fought it out all race through traffic, but has put a monstrous gap between himself and Fafirs of 22 seconds when they come across the line. Kleinhans takes that third place as he starts to open the gap. We do, however, see one of our Ferraris going straight on, but it's all about management of battery, management of fuel. It's all about management of tires. Both classes have gone through a number here at Sebring, a circuit that will absolutely decimate your tires. It will decimate your mental strength, and it will also make you think what you need to do to get this car across the line as they bounce their way through. Sols continues on the charge. Peugeot wasn't able to clutch glory at Le Mans. Kleinhans tried everything he can to bring back Fafirs in second, hoped to hang on as long as he could. Chris Stalls missed out round 3, but looks to take the crown here at round 4 in the Peugeot Total Energies colour. Chris Stalls of Delta Negative will come across the line, taking the overall victory, and takes the hypercar class here at Sebring for the first time of the Raceface.Pro Le Mans Ultimate. Second place, fought it all the way through. The Toyota Gazoo Racing ventured off into the dirt. It looked like it was going to be a tough time to bring it back. And this is Johan Fafirs, who is going to be happy with his position. Second place in the hypercar class, and comes across with a smile on his face at the legendary Sebring, chasing him down third place, and very close to, by the fact of it, 3 seconds off. Kleinhans put the hammer down and got third place. Coming across would be the likes of Bernard Borkhazen, who will take the GT3 victory as he continues on his drive. Blicknote looks to be in the pit as he crosses the line, will be in second place. Brandon Kruger in the pit as well. So it's Brandon Kruger, Blicknote. So Kruger in second, Blicknote in third. Dion Cup running in fourth. A little fight, however, still going down. This is for position. Final corner. Sean Loureiro and Erasmus battling their way through. Loureiro goes out wide, tries to bring it back. Can the Mustang swing it in? Will Erasmus go and steal the likes of 8th position? Getting on the power. Unfortunately, it's all America here at Sebring, and it is all Mustang to get across the line in 8th place. Well done to all our drivers. Fought their way through in a very, very tough race and managing to get across the line here at Sebring. Honestly, stunning stuff. And what a race had by all in this incredible Sebring. First time we've actually come here for the Le Mans Ultimate, and now managing to get the smiles all the way through. So Chris Stalls will take the win. So that is our practice with our qualifying. Looks like we're not going to have an update for our race, so we'll do it the old school. It is going to be the hypercars that will take the first of Chris Stalls, Johan Fafirs, along with Johan Kleinhans to come across the line. And for our GT3s, Bernard Borkhazen, Brandon Kruger, and Johan Blicknote will be the next. So stunning racing had by our drivers. Honestly, great racing. It has been a stunning time. However, here at the beautiful circuit of Sebring, we went into the dark, we ventured into the darkness, and came out on top. We're going to try and get some of the drivers to come and have a chat to us, give us their thoughts of the race and how they felt around Sebring. What did they manage to do to put them up towards the top in the order on this beautiful, beautiful circuit and one of the tough races that we had. So honestly, gonna be a monster run, and we're looking to try and get our top running drivers into the commentary box to join us. So with that being said, we do have some of the drivers lining up to come and have a chat to us. And let's bring in the likes of Blicknote, who took 3rd place of our GT3s. Jan Blicknote, welcome to the commentary box. And honestly, a well done 3rd place here at Sebring. A tough fight. How are you feeling after going through a bit of concrete, a bit of tar, and a bit of an unknown circuit? Well, we are just trying to get some audio through. We do apologize both to the driver and to the stream. For some odd reason, we seem to have lost out a bit of audio there. Let's see if we can try and bring the likes of Blicknote back into the fray. And have a chat to him. Apologies to both the drivers and everyone waiting for the interview. Blicknote, can you hear me? Radio test.
Loud and clear.
There we go. Now we got you back. Absolutely well done. Once again, 3rd place in the GT3 class. Tough time. Take us through. I mean, this is not an easy run.
I'm still shaking down. How can I say it? Because it's a very bumpy track that thought I had the worst case of flat spots on my wheels.
Now, we've got to ask, turn 1 got a little bit interesting. You went on the hunt. It turned into a bit of a fight. What was the game plan? How was it all going for you? Because it looked like life got rather interesting a bit quickly.
Yeah, I sent it a bit too much into turn 1. Missed my brake point by a meter or so. And Mr. Miller just snuck through like a Tokolosi, you know.
Always an exciting one, but let's take us through the hypercars around the circuit. You and the GT3s trying to maintain your line. It looked like it was turning into a bit of a chaos moment. How were you handling the traffic? What was your game plan to try and hold your line?
Yeah, it's new with the hypercars joining us on a small track like that. So it's just, you can't just choose a line and hit the brakes and stuff. So you have to pick a line way before you hit into the braking zone. Otherwise, you can lose control of your car. But yeah, like I think it was Kleinhans got next to me and he just tapped the grass and he went straight past. Almost, I think he hit the wall. But if I maybe tapped in there, I'm sorry. But yeah, what can we do?
Anything can happen in racing, and so it does. Well, thank you so much for joining us. But anything, before I let you go, anything you want to say to all the sponsors here at Raceface.Pro, to the admin stewards, and most importantly, I think you agree with me on this one, the petrolheads who came all the way out to Sebring to see the action in a little bit of darkness.
Yeah, thanks to all the sponsors making this happen. Some Cave, Rhino Lining, and I forgot the other names. It's a bit rough week. And thanks to everybody showing up and supporting us. And that guy off the hot dog, I saw you aiming at me again. I'll get you.
That's the thing. Always there. Just never quite getting the hot dog to us. Maybe you and I need to try and sneak up on him. How about next race, you and I team up, tag team, we'll win it, hands down.
I think I'll put you in the vehicle and I'll scout around the track to see where he is.
Okay, right, a bit of a bait and switch. Fair enough. Jan Blicknote, thank you so much for joining us. Well done yet again, taking that 3rd place in the GT3s.
Cool, thanks, Stephen.
Absolutely stellar stuff and great racing nonetheless. But let's bring in our 2nd place driver, and let's bring in Brandon Kruger, who is on the return to the circuit. Brandon Kruger, welcome. Absolutely phenomenal to have you. And 2nd place of the GT3s, how are you feeling with that? A bit of a lonely race towards the end.
Yes, I wouldn't exactly say lonely. I did have Blicky in the start giving me some nice action there. Obviously, there was I had a big mess up, Stephen. I swear I pressed the pit limiter button when we started, and it was still on. And then I just tumbled back. It was so bad. No, I was shocked. It could have been a nice, hectic battle up front. I mean, Barkhuis and I, we had similar pace. The quali was a heated battle. The fastest lap was a heated battle. Fortunately, that swung my way. And then, I don't know if I would have been able to overtake him. It's very tight around this track. It's very difficult. But yeah, it would have been a very interesting and exciting battle had I not had that mess up. But other than that, lots of fun. I was remarking how with just like 15 minutes of practice, I can hit the most consistent laps. I think I was doing 3.9s the whole race through. And like in ACC, I can't even see that happening. So it's definitely a lot more fun. A lot more in tune with how you drive the car, I must say. No, I'm enjoying this season very much.
And after the big update that's come through, you missed out round 3. You managed to get the battle here. Mm-hmm. What's your game? Yeah. You missed out round 3, and you got 2nd place here. What's your game plan heading into the next round? Next week, it's going to be tough out there. And you're going to be having to close up the gap on the rest of the field and also make up points that you landed up losing. What's your thoughts, Brandon Kruger?
Well, Fuji, I haven't driven that track since Gran Turismo 4 days, so that was like primary school. I'm going to have to get used to it. The setups, they do need tinkering. I was nearly at a loss for today's race. So yeah, I'm keen to give it a go. My game plan is gooi millies and hope for the best.
Gooi millies and hope for the best. That's always the good going one. But I hate to really go and knock it around. Round 5 is around Monza. I think you're visiting the wrong country.
My bad.
I suggest changing the plane ticket now before you land up losing out. But before I let you go to enjoy the celebrations, taking the silver here in the GT3 class for round 4 of the Raceface.Pro LMU Championship, anything you would like to say to all our partners, to everyone that's behind the scenes, and most importantly, I think you agree with me on this, the amazing petrol heads that came out in their droves out there with their camper vans.
Yes, thanks to everyone watching. It's always nice to having a nice and popular video at Raceface. I see like we're getting lots of views on our streams, so I'm very happy about that. Thanks to our sponsors. See a few of new sponsors that we got this season, so it's awesome. Thanks for that. And I hope everyone has a good night.
Absolutely phenomenal. Brandon Kruger, that has taken that 2nd place of our GT3s. Finally, the most dominating GT3 driver out on circuit goes to Bernard Barkhuis. Welcome to the commentary box, and my heavens, light years ahead of the pack, but still managing to put in some very, very quick times. How are you feeling after that?
How's it, Stephen? It's been a while since we had a chat, eh?
Just a tad, eh? Just a tad.
I think it's just like it's almost 7 months or something. But anyway, it's been a very fun race. I didn't didn't push too much. I just wanted to keep it clean, because I'm quite a bit far behind Brandon in the championship. So yeah, just kept it clean.
And always a tough time out there. How did you find trying to keep the consistency with a lot of the hypercars coming around you and the track itself not leading to easy overtakes?
Yeah, look, some of the hypercars driving standards were a bit debatable, but otherwise, I came out unscathed. So yeah, it wasn't that tricky. I mean, I expected a bit more because this track is quite bumpy. When a hypercar comes up, you start to stress a little bit. But yeah, it wasn't that bad.
That being said, all and all, great racing, great bit of fun out there. Anything you would like to say to all of the teams, the drivers, to the admin in the back, to the most important part of the entire sim racing community, our petrol heads that fly in every time we hit the track to go and cheer on from start to finish?
Yeah, no, look, this is a very, how can I say it, refreshing game compared to ACC. It's much different. The time model is completely different. All I can say is just I would like to give a shout out to anyone who's maybe watching that they should also join a championship. I know we mostly have 25 cars on the grid, but would be even more exciting if more people can join.
I'm sure it will build and build. Thank you very much, Bernard Barques, and congratulations on taking the gold here at Sebring and taking the GT3 win away from the rest of the championship, but going and putting an extra bit of silverware at home.
Yeah, thanks, Steven. Cheers.
Bernard Barques, and always fun, humble, but always wants a bit more of a challenge when he comes to racing. Let's bring in our hypercar class, starting off with man that managed to go and steal the victory. Well, steal third place and 3 seconds off second. Let's bring in the likes of Johan Kleinans of Delta Negative. John, welcome to the commentary box. Glad to have you. I mean, what a mental race on your part. A little bit crazy off the start line.
Yeah, it was a tough one for sure. Johan was a bit sneaky up on the inside. Wasn't expecting it, to be honest with you. And from there on, I was seeing, well, not quite yet, red there, maybe yellow I was chasing. But then later on I had a spin, and then for sure I was seeing red.
Now, take us through the Ferrari, very stiffly sprung, and you got a very bumpy circuit. It must have been quite difficult out there.
Yeah, it's a tough track. For me, probably one of my weakest circuits, and it's so technical and so easy to get along, especially going through traffic. It's just a mental race for sure. I can't complain too much. I think setup wise, I had a good setup going, but it's you get out of line and the bumps just allow you to say bye bye. So yeah.
Always a tough one. At which point did you realize that third place was on the cards for you? At what point did you realize I have an opportunity to clutch the podium?
I never gave up on the podium, to be honest with you. I guess I wasn't planning on losing the podium at all. The small little spin I had definitely made it difficult, but I figured, I'm just gonna focus on my race, put in the laps, and eventually, at least I saw Noah ahead of me. Luckily for me, he also had to manage a bit. I think he underfueled, and I got it back. So tough race for me. I was just full focus mode.
Getting it to the end, aiming to the top. Well, before I let you go to enjoy this third place, enjoy the Sebring air, what would you like to say to all in the background, to the teams, the drivers that were out there giving you a hard time and also giving you a wave by, and most importantly, the absolute petrol heads that lined the grandstands and the fences?
Once again, thanks to you, the commentators, Raceface, the sponsors for making this happen. Thanks to my team, Delta Negative. It's our first 1-2-3 for the season, so super happy with the result. And of course, Chris ran away with it, so good job to him and Ewan for finally finishing a race properly. Thanks to people for keeping it clean. Good race, and I'll see you guys in the next one.
Well, third place, Mr. Cleanon's getting a great run and taking third place right at the end. Absolutely phenomenal. Let's bring in our second place driver in the Toyota, Jean Verveers. Mr. Verveers, welcome to the commentary box and taking a second for the Toyota. That's a big smile on the face. How are you feeling?
Feeling great, Steven. Thanks. Good to be back. It feels like it's been a while since speaking to you. Very happy.
Now, take us through. It looked a bit mental for you. Side by side, got a bit sketchy, offline, putting a wheel in the dirt, tires seemed to be fading off. What was going on? Because the Toyota looked a bit loose.
It felt alright. The bumpy track is definitely a factor. So I think all of these hypercars with the downforce that they're running kind of bounce. We used to bouncing is bad, like we know in Formula 1 these days. The car was tricky to drive, but once the tires got in, it felt a little bit better. And then as soon as that happens, there's GT3 traffic. So it just felt like the corners keep coming and the cars keep coming, and you don't get a chance to breathe. But very exhilarating to race.
The conditions also going from day to night. What was your thoughts of just having that transition and having to get used to pace plus the lights all over the show?
Very fun to drive in the conditions, very challenging. As the lights go, the temp goes, the tach temperature goes down, and then more difficult to keep heat in the tires. So it's finding this small balance between pushing enough to keep heat into the tires, but not pushing it over the grip limit. Finding that and just adjusting lap by lap, feeling what the car's doing under you. Very challenging, but very fun. Keeps you very engaged on the steering wheel and the brake pedal.
Absolutely stunning stuff. Well, before I let you go to enjoy the celebrations, taking second place, a little bit of a lonely second place, as you were called away from your hypercar brethren. Anything you would like to say to all the drivers, the teams, and most importantly, the petrol heads that were putting their headlamps on, trying to keep an eye on the action and giving a little bit of light for those apexes?
Thank you very much to everybody watching and supporting. All the headlights and lamps helped around the corners. We'll take any bit of light we can get at night. Thanks to everybody watching, supporting around the track and online. We duly appreciate it. And keep the heads down. We'll see you next week.
Absolutely phenomenal. Mr. Verveers, Jean Verveers of Delta Negative, taking second place in the Toyota. Now, that being said, we have quite a bit of fun. We've got a French car that unfortunately has been down on its luck in real racing, but been up on its luck here at Raceface. Let's bring in Chris Stolz in the Peugeot for Delta Negative. Chris, welcome to the commentary box. You missed out last race. You're back now and put yourself into the podium by quite a distance. How are you feeling?
Thanks, Stephen. No, I'm feeling really good. Really happy for myself, obviously, getting the win, and then also for the team. To get our first ever 1-2-3 on Raceface is super cool, and I'm really happy for Johan, who did an excellent job to get the second place. So I'm happy.
Now, we got to talk about hypercars, battery management. You started burning a little bit in the middle of the race. Your thoughts on trying to save that a little bit more? What was your game plan? Were you lifting and coasting? Were you changing settings? What was going on in the car to try and save a little bit of battery and keep that monstrous gap you got?
The energy wasn't a problem. So it was, we just made the energy 100% full and it was okay. For the battery, it's just, it's a bit weird because you've got two aspects to it. With the Peugeot, you've got four-wheel drive when you have battery deployment, and if you have full battery and you try and brake, then with all the hypercars, you just lose the rear. So it was more just about managing and making sure that you're not ever getting full and not ever getting empty, just keeping it in the middle somewhere. Didn't have to change it too much. Some tracks it's very busy, but today it wasn't too bad. And then yeah, for the traffic management, that was probably the scariest part because the speed difference is just so crazy and it's so bumpy and easy to lock up. So it was just about managing the race. After that first couple laps, I got a good start and got a good pace, and then after that it was just managing.
And we got to talk about catching GT3s in the middle sector. That seemed to be a bit of an Achilles heel for you. Explain to us what was going through the car and catching up to the GT3s in some of the slower corners.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is after last week, I was surprised by the pace I had for last week, and then obviously got the disconnect at the end of lap 1, which really has now made the championship difficult. I have to be perfect from now on. So I could have taken more chances with the GT3s, but with the gap being as it was, it was just making sure, to get through safely and not cause any contact and get any damage. So yeah, it was just taking it carefully.
Absolutely. Take it gentle, take it carefully, get it across the line. But before I let you go to enjoy the celebrations of 1, 2, 3 for the team, so I'm sure that's going to be a wild, wild night out. Anything you would like to say to all the sponsors out here at Raceface.Pro, all as you are admin, but also your fellow admins and stewards that are around in the back of the scenes, but most importantly, the absolute race fans that were cheering you guys on from start to finish, day to night.
Yeah, no, I just want to say, thanks to you, Stephen, for all the hard work as well behind the scenes, and thanks to the sponsors. I want to say thanks to my team, always pushing me to do better, and congrats on that. And thanks to everyone who's been watching and supporting, like my girlfriend and my dad. So I really appreciate that. And on to the next one. Should be good. I think Monza's a strong track, and we'll see if we can get a win again.
Absolutely. That's the way to think about it. That's the way to do it. Results taking first place of the Hypercars and first place overall. Delta Negative making it a 1, 2, 3 here at Sebring. It has been an absolute amazing race. Some amazing action at the beautiful track of Sebring. But that being said, we will have to start looking and saying goodbye to Sebring. As we carry on with the championship, round 4 now officially in the headlights and now looking towards the end. It's going to be a tough one. As you heard, championship rather close going into the closing stages of the entirety of the race. That being said, a big thank you to our sponsors for making it possible here at Raceface. Likes of SBR, Virtual Motorheads, Simulator Cave, and the likes of Rhino Utility. Massive thank you to all the admin and stewards behind the scenes working frantically to keep the championship on its heels. But that being said, you heard the stories. You heard what's possibly going to be next. Well, which is actually the next circuit to come through starting next week is going to be the beautiful track of Monza to keep us a bit of company. And we're looking forward to seeing how it's going to work out, who's going to be able to launch their way to victory at the stunning track, and who is willing to push the boundaries to get the win and maximize the points. So keep an eye on that. Next week, we will be smiling at the beautiful circuit of Monza, tasting a bit of pasta, going and enjoying the fine wines, and all the amazing action here at Raceface.Pro. So, that being said, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, massive thank you to you all. You petrol heads keep us going time in and time out and keeping us at the top of our game. But that's also going and pushing a little bit harder, a little bit better, and becoming one of the best out there enjoying the racing action. That being on it, like I say, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you at Monza and see you tomorrow night for some ACC action as we look to go and have a bit of fun there. Make sure you hit the like, hit the subscribe, and let us know what was your favorite moment of the racing here tonight at the beautiful track of Sebring. Keep an eye out on our social media, out on X and Facebook. There's plenty more to come. And if you want to join up with all the action, head over to SimGrid to go and join with Raceface.Pro. We do have a Buy Me a Coffee link if you enjoy the racing and you enjoy the broadcast. Go and hit that and Buy Me a Coffee, and we'll appreciate all the support that comes through. That being said, just to subscribe is just enough, and a like as well. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, from myself, THT Productions, Stephen Koenig here, and everyone behind the scenes. Tim, who was our flag marshal, and likes of Jim, who took over the cameras just for once. He'll be back to crossing it over next race and next week. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, like always, a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, everybody.